Farage is a snake.
This fringe who want sort of this party to be a hard right, it's not going to be that. It just isn't going to be that.
Reform UK has a problem. How to deal with its growing support for Islam and its Muslim presence within the party, including its chair Zia Yusuf, when there is out-and-out hostility from that religious community it is trying to win over. Raj Farage, who emigrated to the UK from Bangladesh in 2010 and is standing for Nigel Farage's party in the Hainault ward by-election in Redbridge, London, was assaulted while campaigning outside a mosque.
Candidate Raj Farage. Reform UK is not a racist party. I am the example. This is my home. Yeah. No, okay, that's fine, no problem. No, you can't take my leaflet like that. Can you take a video? You cannot take a video like that. You cannot. You cannot take my leaflet like that. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. You cannot. I live down here. I am the local candidate. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. If they can give a leaflet, I can give the leaflet. I have the right.
Get away from the mosque, cuz.
No, then why you are allowing others?
You're reformed, though.
Yes, what is the problem? Reform is the party of this country. What are you talking about?
Just don't block the road. You can do whatever you want.
Reform is the party for the common sense and everyone. You have to understand it.
Clear, yeah?
We have been fooled for so long. Reform is the party of this country.
Clear, yeah?
Yeah, I am your local candidate. I live down here. Don't believe all these leftists. They are destroying our country. I am the hard-working person, We are being Muslim. We've been fooled so many times. Yeah. You don't know about.
Okay, so you see the aggression there. Seds UK saw that on X and wrote, I wonder what Zia makes of this. No candidate from any party should be intimidated like this. If a Muslim candidate was attacked by Christians, the media would be very quick to jump on that story. No doubt this won't make it to the news. And of course, it hasn't made it to the news apart from here. But over the weekend, Raj, the candidate, was profiled and interviewed by the left-wing Guardian, an interview that has been posted today on X by Nigel Farage, because Nigel Farage seems to love the left-wing media now, even though he doesn't want to appear on the independent media, but there you go. And he said that as an immigrant, he is opposed to the way illegal migrants are impacting everyone, and he hit out at claims the party is racist. So pictured here with Yusuf, he added, myself, I'm a Muslim, but I believe my religion is a private matter, nothing to do with my politics, because if I consider myself as a Muslim voter, then I'm not considering my residents who are Christian or Jews, who are Hindu, who are atheists. I have that kind of positive mindset. And after that attack outside the mosque, he added on X, today I stood up to lies and division. Outside my local mosque, just next to my house in Hainault, Redbridge, Anti-Racism Day activists were handing out leaflets calling Reform UK racist and urging people not to vote for us. They spread anger and misinformation. As a Reform UK candidate in the upcoming by-election, I spoke the truth. Reform UK stands for unity, fairness and real change. I faced intimidation for standing up for what's right, for Reform UK and for our country. We are not a racist party and I won't be silenced. And the deputy leader of the party, Richard Tice, supported him, adding on X, thank you, Raj, for standing up against such abuse. Britain needs reform. But the shocking attack has raised the ongoing issue of how the party deals with Farage's tack to the centre to appeal to left-wing voters. Not to mention woke issues like reparations, because in that same Guardian article that Nigel has reposted on X this afternoon, the party's Enfield branch chair, a man called Neville Watson, was also interviewed, and he revealed that he supports economic reparations for the, quote, unimaginable wrong of slavery. He said it had driven a deep-rooted and sometimes subconscious racism and left an indelible mark on the lives of a people. So I'm just trying to get my head around this and be totally fair. If you are a Reform UK member who posted, for example, something that I believe like Tommy Robinson is a political prisoner, you're out. You're booted out of the party faster than you can. Then Nigel Farage can say something negative about Rupert Lowe. So you're just gone if that happens. However, if you're in the party and you give an interview to the Guardian newspaper saying that you believe in financial reparations for slavery and historic racism, which goes totally against the party's policy, that's fine. No issues here. Nigel will post the article on Guardian. You can understand why there is concern from people like me on the right. And the party's axed MP Rupert Lowe today went into this further, especially on the Islam issue, posting this video of Nigel on X.
But the nub of it is, we have a Muslim population in Britain growing by about 75% every 10 years. Right? That's just where we are.
Mm-hmm.
If we politically alienate the whole of Islam, we will lose. We'll lose.
So how does one include
We
them?
will lose. By 2050, goodness knows what kind of a terrible state we're going to be in.
But Rupert, in regards to that video, continued the growing war between the two men. And I am going to take you through quite a lot of what he said. He wrote, "It's depressing to hear Farage echoing the same fearful rhetoric we've heard for decades. He states if we politically alienate Islam, we will lose. He gives a year of 2050 for a terrible state we'll potentially be in. It's this fatalistic, defeatist thinking that has crippled Western resolve for so many long years. Cowardice led us into this mess. It will certainly not lead us out. This is not a question of alienating individuals or of disrespecting peaceful, law-abiding Muslims. It's about whether Western democracies still possess the confidence and the courage to robustly defend our values in the same way Muslim countries do, or whether we must now shape our politics and our whole way of life in order to avoid offending a particular religion. I say we must not." What does Farage mean when he says we will lose? If Western nations must compromise every political stance, censor honest debate, and soften our principles simply to avoid upsetting Islam, then we've already lost. Farage's warning is not a new one. It's a boring repetition of the same cowardice that has allowed countless European cities to change beyond recognition, for free speech to be radically undermined, and for our liberal values to be eroded away, all in the name of multiculturalism. I don't want multiculturalism. We have a culture and it works just fine. One that respects women, values free speech, rewards hard work, and treats everyone equally under the law. We don't need parallel systems or separate rules that directly clash with our way of life. Our civilization should not be held hostage by the cultural sensitivities of any belief system, especially one that in its most politicized form has already shown a total unwillingness to reciprocate the tolerance we have gifted to it. I would argue that in certain parts of the country, many followers of Islam have already politically alienated themselves by electing openly sectarian MPs who are willing to reduce the gang rape scandal to a false right-wing narrative and who hold infinitely more passion for Gaza than their own neglected constituencies. For many, their sympathies and loyalties simply lie elsewhere, a sad but sobering fact. Farage believes that the political cost of defending British values is too high, finding himself in emphatic agreement with the rotten establishment consensus. That's his choice. My view, our values are worth protecting, even if it's politically inconvenient. And that post on X really sums up the split on the right at the moment. Because while Reform UK's polling is extraordinary, like MRP has reported over the weekend they would win the highest number of seats of any party if an election were held tomorrow. They would also take the seats of cabinet ministers like Angela Rayner, Pat McFadden, Bridget Phillipson, Ed Miliband, Jonathan Reynolds, Lisa Nandy and Yvette Cooper. But despite all of that, they'd still be nowhere near a majority. Meanwhile, Labour's next big hope, Wes Streeting, would lose his seat to a sectarian Muslim independent candidate. Let that sink in. And not everyone on the right shares Rupert's view, because over the weekend, Katie Hopkins described Nigel Farage as a snake while also seeming to back Reform UK. Watch.
I think an apology would be a great idea. Draw a line under this and let's move forward with saving the country. It is possible, my darlings, you know, to hold two thoughts at the same time, like two oranges, if you will. Firstly, Farage is a snake. Secondly, reform can end Labour. You have to hold these two oranges at the same time. That's it.
But Katie is very clear. She wants Nigel to apologise to Rupert and for there to be some type of reconciliation between the two wings of the party, I guess you would say. And that's certainly what I want. But in an exclusive interview with our very own June Slater for her YouTube channel, Farage has insisted his strategy is the right one.
Explaining myself, because you must find it strange that I've never joined the party and I've never really gone full in, but the only way I can be productive and honest is to stand back from it all and see what goes on.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are two very different worlds. The idea that Twitter, or X, as it now is, I mean, you know, come to Morecambe, this is the real world. You know, I've been to the Morecambe Veterans Breakfast Club this morning, and everybody there from like 28 to 88 who've served in the forces or whatever they've done. And then, you know, you come here. You know, this town didn't have a reform prior to February. Here we are this morning, we packed the pub out. We've got candidates for every seat. So I think sometimes people obsess too much with what's been said and done online. And it's kind of, a lot of these people online, they're sort of all getting their Victoria Cross winners. But they realise that real politics is about getting out, meeting people, building a party. And, you know, it's difficult sometimes not to get frustrated by some of the silly actions that people do. But you know what? On May the 1st, or rather, more accurately, on May the 2nd, when people wake up, you're going to see what we've done. And I think actions speak louder than words.
He then explicitly pushed back to June on the idea that the party would ever move to what he described as the hard right. Watch.
During the 2019 general election, I called the election right. I said that Labour were tanking support because no way that decent Labour people would give their vote to Jeremy Corbyn. And it wasn't Boris won the election, it was Corbyn that gave it to him. And I feel, because my message box is telling me the same story again and again, these Labour voters need somewhere to place that vote. And they're not going to go to something too right-wing, and they're not going to go to something too Tory. And they won't trust the Tories again. They're a spent force. So I predict, and I'm doing it now, that in an election, I think that you'll get an awful lot of support from people who are just fed up with fake politics, fake career politicians, and being too far either side.
Yeah, and look, you know, we attract equally. I mean, here in Lancashire, right, in these county elections, we've got to get people to come to us from both the Labour and Conservative parties. And do you know what? We will. We will. And I think most of our policies represent just plain common sense, the kind of thing people talk about around the family dinner table. And, you know, yeah, this sort of, you know, this fringe who want sort of this party to be a hard right. It's not going to be that. It just isn't going to be that. It's going to be a common sense party. If you don't like it, get off. Yeah. But tell you what, Joe Public does. Yeah. I've got to go.
Okay.
Pay the fight.
Thank you.
But June Slater joins me now on today's Superstar panel alongside the social commentator Leilani Dowding. But first, you know how often I talk about the need for free speech to be protected, and I've been increasingly thinking of the need for personal protection from snoopers, bad actors, and hackers online, and I'm delighted to tell you I've now found the fail-safe solution. But what's more, this VPN, or virtual private network, to use the full term, is also a life changer when it comes to providing you entertainment and information from anywhere in the world, wherever you are. So let me introduce you to Surfshark. An incredible, easy-to-use service that encrypts all your internet traffic, meaning your online activity stays safe so you can shop, stream, browse, and conduct your banking online in complete privacy. But the benefits of Surfshark actually go way beyond keeping you safe online. It's also such an amazing entertainment service because it allows you to access all your favourite channels and streaming services like Hulu, iPlayer, HBO Max, and Peacock, or Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, within seconds, as if you're watching in another country. Honestly, that is so handy. It means if you're traveling for work or on holiday, you can get all your favorite content from home, including sports. It's also an insurance policy against creeping censorship in many countries. So if one country has blocked your favorite show, you can just log on and watch as if you're in another country. Effectively, it allows you to watch anything, anytime, anywhere. True freedom. VPNs can also really save you money. Did you know that you can get the best deals from websites that change their prices depending on where you're buying from? There are other benefits too. You can use Surfshark on unlimited devices, which means your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. There are over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, meaning a world of choices at your fingertips with 24/7 customer service if this is your first time using a VPN. Go to surfshark.com/outspoken and you will get an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. What's more, Surfshark is so confident that it is the best VPN in the world that you can give it a try for a full 30 days. And if you're not entirely satisfied, you will get your money back. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken and you'll get an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. But now, back to the show. And June, I have to point out, first of all, because I know you've been receiving a lot of flack after that interview, but of course, you're not shilling for anyone. You don't take any money from Reform UK. You're not working for Reform UK, nothing like that. This is just what you believe in. And June, you are winning over some of our viewers already. Philip Franklin has just posted in the live chat, June Slater is my secret crush. So there you go, June. There you go, June. The day has started off pretty well. But look, there is this split in Reform UK. You acknowledge that. Even Nigel acknowledged it within the interview. He says, no, we can't go to the hard right. That's why we need to appeal to this Islam vote. That's why we're going to have the Muslim candidates. Rupert Lowe, just today, saying, June, that's just giving up on our country.
Oh, right. We have been scuppered ever since Enoch Powell delivered a speech that seemed to have, I don't know, earmarked him as a far-right, unsuitable character to come to power. And the sooner people realise that if you go at it too hard, right, you will lose. You will lose the fight against any religion. You will lose any chance of getting into number 10. And we are all, myself included, howling at the moon until somebody gets into number 10. They didn't want Enoch Powell because the grip on this country is decades old. We haven't had anything try and pull it back to the centre. The centre is the real ground because the hard right people have only gone hard right because things have gone too far left. So realistically, we are all centrist. What's happened is the left have taken over the civil service and the country. Tony Blair still has a hand in running this country because all the people he put in place are still there. And that's the work that has to be done. Rupert's speech is brilliant. I agree with everything he says about how things have been let down and the culture's been diluted. But that's a naivety from someone who's only been in real politics 6 months. You're dealing with a man in Nigel Farage who's been doing this for 25 years. And he's been pushed back, called a racist, called a fascist, called a Nazi during that time. He's been banned from bars in Brussels. He's had food thrown at him. He's had assassination attempts. He's had name calling. He's had people spitting on him in restaurants. He's had excrement put through his letterbox. He knows all what it's about. Rupert's just been rocketed in because Nigel Farage came back to politics. Every single one of those MPs, apart from Lee Anderson, would not have their seat if he hadn't returned. And what you're missing here, because you're that busy fighting on the far right, because all these young journalists are trying to make a name for themselves, if we go down that route, expect to see Keir Starmer smiling at you in 2029. The only way you're going to get anything anywhere near like a change in politics is to get someone in who's savvy enough to use tactical measures to get what we want, to make the country unattractive to people coming in. just because he's not making wild statements and not addressing immigration with a sledgehammer doesn't mean he's not capable of putting the country on the right track. And all this business about people want to advise him on policy issues, I don't think anyone's got. I saw it firsthand the other day up in Morecambe with these council candidates. There's so much work gone into this party in such a short space of time to unravel the stranglehold that Keir Starmer, the Labour left, have got on this country, and the not so conservative Tory party that have let us down for 15 years. And unless we get someone in that's got a more cushioned approach to their politics, we're all going to be screaming at the moon. And all you've got to look at, would Tommy Robinson be sat in solitary confinement if Nigel Farage was your Prime Minister? Would Nigel Farage have had communist advisors talk to him about how to lock the country down? The whole country would have a different landscape. The boats would be stopped. There's legislation in place to stop it. There's legislation to process offshore. It's here. It's available to use, but nobody's got the political will to do it. And when people say, oh, I didn't ask him any hard questions, I wasn't there as a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I'm not an investigative reporter. I am actually in that sphere. When I went to that meeting, when I was invited to that meeting, I was there as a supporter for the council candidates who were doing real hard work. And I see other people that going on mainstream media, GB News, etc., and Talk TV and Sky News. It's all well and good giving you sound bites out, but unfortunately, there's a real boring side to politics where people have to discuss how much money is being wasted on carbon capture at council level when they can't even clean a drain. You need people who want to do that.
Yeah, you do. You do. And I totally understand that side of it. Leilani, I guess where I feel the most concern is over this idea that we have to compromise, because I'm so sick of the compromises that the Conservative Party made. And they made so many compromises that they were no longer a party of the right or even the centre-right, but a party of the left. And Robert Jenrick is trying to take them back to the right, but it's going to take a long time to build up any trust. But what we see now is Nigel actually quite blatantly trying to appeal to the centre ground, say that we are going to be a party of the centre left as well as the centre right. And I don't think that's what this country needs in order to be saved. And on mass deportations, for example, Lani, the support is overwhelming. I mean, that Find Out Now poll last week said 100% of the Reform UK members they surveyed wanted mass deportations. It was 88% of Conservative voters and even 52% of Labour voters. And remember, Nigel says that mass deportations of people who are already here illegally is impossible.
You know, I think it's a really hard one because I think somebody ran the numbers and you'd have to have a jumbo jet going out every hour, completely full, to get all the illegals out of this country. So it is a hard one. I understand that. But what does worry me is exactly what worries you. And it's this, you know, coming to the centre. Now, if it was the centre from maybe 20 years ago, I'd say great. But the centre now, it's not really a centre. I feel like the Conservatives were already in the centre. So we just need somebody, or the Tories who are fake Conservatives. So we just need somebody a little right of that. But I feel like Katie Hopkins too, which is, I do feel like Nigel's a snake, but I also think that in the next general election, it's imperative to vote for reform. And I do feel that way. I think at the local council level, it could be a little different with the up and coming elections going on now. There's some really wonderful independents. I'm actually going to vote for an independent because I know him, I trust him, and he'll do what's best for my little parish. So, you know, in that case, I would vote independent. But, you know, 4 years' time, it's a long way away. I think I'd like to see an apology as well. But I think it would have to be reform because who else is there? We've seen the damage the fake Conservative Tories have done. We've seen the even worse damage Labour have done. So you're kind of stuck there. wondering, it's, to me, it's very disappointing. It's very demoralizing. I've had to take a step back from looking at it all because it's just, really upset me, and I don't want to get into arguments with friends of mine. It's not a big enough issue for me to, start splitting people up and friendships and all of that about who you're going to vote for. So I would probably, be where you and Katie are. And also, I will say as well, well done to Raj. It's good. I'm totally okay with moderate Muslims who want to integrate into this country, be part of this country, live by, kind of our rules and the Christian and law and way of life that's been happening, who are okay with that, who go and practice their religion however they want to.
I just thought
but without the Islam.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I just thought what was terrible is the way that he was attacked outside that mosque.
Absolutely.
And the problem is what happened outside that mosque, I would argue, is probably where most Muslim voters are at.
Yes.
Now, June, I want to ask you about this other guy who's been quoted in The Guardian today backing reparations, because Stephen Edgington from GB News has, I think, just made a very fair point on X. He said, big test for Farage and Reform. Assuming they were unaware of this and didn't read the article they tweeted, will he now be expelled from Reform? Or is it just those on the right who are removed for their views on migration and Islam? And also on Tommy Robinson, because surely Reform cannot allow a branch leader to remain in place who has said that he believes in reparations, June. I mean, that's like a hard left policy. That's nuts.
I think you might be seeing me on his thread a bit later. Just to clarify something that some of your viewers might not understand, but in the UK, Tommy Robinson, very wrongly, in my opinion, was arrested and charged under the Anti-Terrorism Act. Now, in this country, if a political party is deemed, I'm reading this, if a political party is deemed to have connections to terrorism, the term used to describe the action taken is called proscription. Proscription means the government, through the Home Secretary, can ban the organisation, making it illegal to survive, to support or participate in its activities. Now, I think the reason for this, Tommy Robinson, is to avoid that, because I think nothing would give the establishment greater pleasure than being able to have an excuse to dissolve Reform. I mean, the Electoral Commission watch Reform like Ofcom watch GB News.
Yeah, and that's what's happened with Marine Le Pen in France, for example. They've found a spurious way to exclude her from the process.
But the thing is with Tommy is that Nigel didn't have to go and kind of attack him the way he did. He lied about something to do with him assaulting his wife, completely made that up. His wife had to come out and make a statement saying that never happened. He was never charged with that. So Nigel didn't have to do that, which is what's so frustrating to me. It's just saying, look, Tommy's never even tried to become part of the party either.
When I saw him in December, he said that he had no interest in joining Reform, but he did want the spurious attacks on him from Reform to stop. Yeah. But June, before we get totally carried away by the Tommy Robinson debate, can I just ask you about this particular candidate? Because you've got to understand there'll be a lot of people saying, why can you be suspended from the party simply for saying that Tommy Robinson is a political prisoner, yet a branch chair can tell the left-wing Guardian newspaper that he supports reparations for slavery?
Well, I've no idea how Reform are going to act because I'm not even a member. But all I can say, using logic, the reason there will be more hardcore with someone supporting Tommy is this right-wing view that the media have, and come an election time, they'll just twist everything. They'll just twist, even if Nigel apologised for getting it wrong about Tommy and his wife with that situation, even if he apologised, the media would turn that into something. They won't do anything with this fella because he's asking for reparations, because he's talking their language. So he's not such a danger to Reform The Electoral Commission aren't going to have any problem with it. The mainstream media aren't. They're going to leave him alone. They're not going to attack him. This party will now be under attack until it gets to an election. Personally, I think asking for reparations and standing for a reform party, he should have the decency to step down. I mean, I don't know how good he is at his job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just think what this shows is that when it comes to the party selection process, they're so desperate, looking through everyone's social media. Oh, have they ever said anything terrible about Tommy Robinson? Or have they ever supported Tommy Robinson? You know, do they watch Dan Wootton Outspoken? That gets you kicked off probably now. Whereas actually they should probably be looking at the fact, oh, do we actually have a hard leftist in our midst who wants to bankrupt the country with reparations? There you go. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.